Welcome to our seventh episode of our podcast on foil, where we talk about and talk to people who like being on foil. I'm Matt, living in Switzerland.
I'm Gael, living in Cyprus, and today we have another kind of foil.
Yes, and we have a third guest, or we have a guest here. She's a professional sailor and personal coach. She's a 3 times Olympian sailor. She was diagnosed with colon cancer in 2021 and was recently the helm of the women's Swiss America's Cup team in Barcelona. I've sailed against Nathalie Brugger when I was little, and the last time we saw each other was actually in '99 at the World Championship of Optimist 25 years ago. Thank you, Nat, for talking to us. I wasn't able to list all your achievements. Did I forget anything important, or is there anything else you want to add?
Not really. I think well, you can say I like foiling. That's part of the show. But no, like everything you have said is correct. And I think, last time I saw you, you were really small. I remember the jacket was too big for you. That's the only thing I remember.
Yes, I grew a little late. And you were 2 years older than me, right? You're 84?
85, yeah.
85, all right. So, yes. And, well, let's just start more or less then. How do you get into water sports?
I think it comes from my family. My parents love to go on a holiday on yachts, like mostly like holiday sailing, not really like proper sailing. But then I got into Optimist because my sister wanted me to go with her in Opticamp in Estavayer, and I followed her. Like I wasn't really keen. I was like, well, let's do something that my sister is doing, because I was kind of following everything she was doing. So that's how I started.
That is pretty cool, and it led to 3 Olympics, which is a major achievement.
Yeah, after that, I kept kind of the classic path in sailing in Switzerland. I ended up sailing 420 with my sister, then sailing 470, which is a little bigger. Then I swapped for being a crew because I was bigger than her. And I ended up starting sailing laser. It's a one boat a dinghy in Australia because I went learning English there. And I was missing sailing, and everyone is sailing there. So I was like, oh, let's try sailing on another boat. And that's how it started. It was like 2 years before the games. And when I came back in Switzerland, I was like, well, I have 2 years before Beijing. And like, let's try. Like I had no idea what it meant to do an Olympic campaign. And I realized along the way how hard it was. But at the beginning, I was like, oh, let's do something cool. And there we go.
And that was like 100% job, right? Then sailing is your job. How does that daily work look for you?
Back in the days, I think it was Olympic sailing is more like a passion because you can't really make money out of this. So it is professional in a way that you give everything you have for it, for your goal, but you still, I went to uni at the same time doing other jobs. So it's professional in a way that you give 100% of your life for it. And then after that, after the last games in Rio, I turned professional sailor, which means like you earn money out of this job.
And how do you do that? Sponsors?
No, you're actually employed as a sailor on different boats. So I did big boat like a catamaran foiling or the Tour de France I did as well. So you've got a project owned by a sponsor, and they employ you to be on the boat and perform. And sometimes could be only like a small project or a bigger boat with more people on it.
The catamaran you were talking about, are those the TF35s I saw online?
Yeah, so I started with the D35, which is the old version of it. So it's a catamaran that was on the lake for a long time, 35 feet, and not foiling, but like flying a hull. And then 3 years ago, they decided to make a class, a TF35, so a flying catamaran. And there's between 6 and 7 boats, I think, on the lake right now. And Alinghi started this campaign for the America's Cup on this boat, like trying to have young people and new people foiling. And we did the season on it.
How was the transition between? I'm asking dumb questions here. All throwing numbers and weird names. I'm asking a dumb question. How was the transition between normal sailing and sailing on a foil?
I think the feeling of not feeling the water or the waves, that was kind of something I missed, or that was a bit weird at the beginning. But for sure, as soon as you foil, you have the speed is coming, which coming from a laser or even an Acra 17 was fast, but not as fast. So I learned to take decision a bit quicker, and you have other styles like the strategy, the tactic. You still have to do it, but you need to take in account that you're on a foil, and at some stage it's more important not to drop off the foils and tacking at the right place. So they are like different component in your tactic that comes into account.
You're talking of speeds. The speeds are exponentially higher. How fast were you on these TF35s?
Well, the TF was a little bit like limited to, I think the fastest we went was 28 knots. So it is it is fast, but then compared to the America's Cup boat, that's like another level of going fast.
And you were on the helm there, also on these TF35s.
Yeah, so I got employed as a driver, which was pretty cool. Like I learned a lot. We got all the old guy, well, the old guys, the guy coming from the America's Cup team from Alinghi Red Bull Racing. They came to help us. They sailed one season already on this boat, so they had a good idea how it was working. But I was driving this boat, and we were with a lot of youth people on board, trying to learn as much as we could. And it was a really fun experience. And at the end, we sailed well compared to the other team.
That's really cool. You said fun, and I'm always asking myself also, we can maybe just switch in that topic of America's Cup right away. The ratio between fun and scary. How is that? Or is that at all scary for you? Because from the outside, sometimes it looked pretty sketchy and scary as well.
Actually it's scary when you don't know what you're doing. So that the scary parts start to come into into the game. And we went step by step. So we didn't start straight away in like 20 knots because that was really scary. So we really went slowly to not scare people as well, because we had youth, like really young people on board, and at the end you're going 45 knots. So everyone has play a big role on board. So it's not only you driving, you depends on you trimmer at the back, and your trimmer makes you look good or not. And then on the other side of the boat, like someone is trimming the jib, someone is playing the right height and all these kind of things. So you really, yes, you are driving, but at the same time you are four on board, and you really have to make sure that everyone is on the same page, because then that the scary part comes into it. If someone is scared or someone doesn't do the job, then then it can be scary.
But also there are other teams around. Some looked super in control and some not so much. So if someone is approaching you, you going 40 knots and the other ones as well, the other ones can be scary as well, right?
Yeah, actually in our group, we were in the group with all the America's Cup team, and people were more or less under control because we had more days on the water than the other groups. But for sure, like when you cross someone at this speed, you need to think that, and especially that you don't see the other side of the boat. You have like a vision that really, it's really small compared to what you used to. So you need to make sure that everybody's on the same page and they can see you and anticipate a little bit. Anticipation is for sure like the key on this boat.
You were four on the boat. The crew was bigger, obviously, but how's the difference in tasks? Someone obviously is steering, but as I've heard and I just saw videos of it, just on one side. So once you tack or jibe, it's the other one who's in control. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly. So the one on windward is driving the boat, so holding the wheel basically. And so when you drive, you can do the pitch of the boat, and the one behind you is trimming the main sail. And on the other side, so the other driver is going to be in charge of the right height and the count system. So they trimming the foil that is in the water. So the faster you go, the more out you're going to go, kind of. That's the theory. So you want to have more riding moment. And the other trimmer is trimming the jib. So everyone has a special role, and then at the same time you need to talk about what you see and to describe the game. So the one to leeward, the driver to leeward, start to be the tactician, kind of. So talking about the boundaries, if you're going to leap out this boat, you're going to pass behind, because actually you don't see those boats. So the communication on board takes a lot of space and is very important.
This notes like. Do you do a special training? I guess you're doing, of course, sailing training and then probably physical training. But are you doing actually also a kind of like a communication training to make sure that, as you said, you're all on the same page all the time?
Yeah, we had a proper playbook about what to say, because everything goes so fast that you can't really start having like sentences with massive, like very long sentences, because you talk to a mic through a mic, and you need a bit of voice to open your mic. So if the first word doesn't, like, you don't hear it, the sentence can be really wrong, like actually the opposite of what you really think. So we was trying to do a playbook of small sentences with proper words, and we worked a lot about it on the simulator, because you have time to express what you want, like how to make it shorter. And if you crash into something, it costs less money than on the proper boat.
How is the difference between simulator and on the water? Is that comparable?
I think the reflexes for you, like muscles memory, that how we use it, and we use it a lot for like practicing some tactical situation at the boundaries when you have like all these boats coming at the same time and you have to make quick decisions. But the rest it was a bit hard for the trimmers, because you don't feel anything. Like you look at numbers, you see the traveler bar moving, but there's no heel, there is no acceleration. So it was really hard for them to trim on the sim. And to be honest, I have not played a lot of video games in my life, or not at all. So yeah, it was a bit tricky. And for me to, I mean, it's like, I don't want to say it's like Mario Kart, but like you're driving a little bit like you need to be good at video games, and that was not my strength at the beginning. So I have really had to practice this a lot.
So if anyone wants to get into America's Cup sailing, keep playing those video games. That
Yeah, kind of actually. Like you have so many numbers. It's so different than what we used to do back in the days. I sounds like I'm very old, but it's you have like screens. You look at numbers. You have to match a target that you have, and yeah, there's a lot of concentration on a screen and on numbers to because at the end, if you're going 3 knots difference compared to the others, it's a massive difference. So it's a lot about driving your ball like the right way, but at the same time you still have to, like when we had waves, you still have to play with the waves like on a normal boat. But for sure, like if you want to train for this kind of boat, you need to be good on the video games.
So would you say it's more important to actually read the numbers and do the correct thing than actually have the feeling for it? Can you get the feeling of it, or just like, those are the numbers, I have to do what's in that playbook?
Well, on the sim, you don't feel acceleration, you feel nothing. So that's really hard. So that's why we train to be more accurate on our vision, how to read quickly the numbers, because you have screen with targets, but you have screen with a tactical situation with the boats coming. So if you can read all these numbers plus same times look at the wind, the gust coming through. So that's all the skills that you have to be good at. But for sure on the boat, you will feel as soon as the boat decelerate, or if you have the waves, how to take it the right way. So I think it's a bit of a combination of these two skills. But yeah, at the same time, it's always good if you have good feelings, you see straight away on the water for sure.
It looks like it's not like a normal sport. It is something more, something beyond. There are so many skills involved, which is not like it's tactic. It almost looks like a war almost.
Well, yeah, I mean, the basic is still the same. Like you look where there is more wind, you look at the your wind direction, like all these kind of things. For sure, like on the sim, we got beaten by the gamers, which was a bit painful to see. That those guys have no idea about sailing. But it's the same on the F1. Like you hear the good guys saying that the gamers are better on the video games, but on the water, like you have all these skills that you have learned for the last 25 years that comes into in play. And you need to be good at all these things, but for sure at the end it's tactic strategy, like positioning compared to the other boats. It's all the same basic stuff.
From the outside, it looked a lot better than the men's America's Cup, because 6 boats on the water, it's so much more fun to watch.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of this, and as a sailor, I would agree as well. Like, it was fun to watch the youth, fun to watch all these guys on the AC40 in Jeddah and all this regatta. So it's a different game, but there is for sure for the public like more action and more things to see. I would agree as well.
The technical part also, and again, I just saw the videos. There was a huge difference between, for example, Sweden, who was sailing like on rails, and Australia, for example, who was like going up and down and left and right. It looked a much more wobbly. Is that just experience?
Yeah, actually, the AC40 was a new boat for everyone, and some of the teams had the luxury to be able to buy a boat. Like on this Group B, I think only Sweden got a boat for a year through the sponsor and like Artemis Sailing. So they were down in Barcelona and they trained every day. They even trained more than us, and it was the same as in our team, in our group. Sorry, some of the big team, we call it like, so the America's Cup team, help a little bit more the women and youth team. And for us was, we had 2 months that we couldn't sail for a little bit of political reasons, but that's how they organized the team. Like, they didn't want any distraction for the big team, and we were linked to our team. If you look at the British, had the separate organization, so they were completely separate from the big team, and they could sail every day. For us was, during the Louis Vuitton Cup, we couldn't race, couldn't train, so we did a lot of simulator during this time. And I think the difference you saw in between the teams is for sure linked to how many hours you had on the boat. Like, it's completely new for everyone, so every minute makes a difference.
I just saw like this. I was in Barcelona for the men's America's Cup, and I saw the I don't know if you call that stab as well, because I come from pump foiling and wing foiling and whatnot, and the foil you have on the rudder, is that called a stab as well? How's that called in big boat sailing?
I don't think so. On my wing foil, it is called like that, but I don't. No, it's the rudder. The rudder.
Well,
yeah.
Anyway, I was impressed how small that was.
Well, I think it all depends on the design of the boat. I don't think everyone had the same idea behind the concept, and some of them for sure were trying to have the least drag as possible, but all this concept is like, everyone were going kind of different way, and I can't tell you who did what exactly.
But you, as on the women's side, you had these one designed boats, right?
Yeah. So our boat is one design. Some of the team used their second AC40 to develop something that they wanted to see on the AC75, because it was cheaper, and they had some rules that they could only build like X amount of foils, X amount of sails. So they did a lot of research on the AC40. So most of the AC team had 2 AC40 to have kept one design for racing, and the other one to develop and research what they wanted.
Maybe just one last question, unless you have more questions about the America's Cup. Sometimes I saw these images where probably the boat went a little bit too high, and then the rudder was super flexy and just, well, it didn't break, but it looked really scary, and then the crash afterwards. Is that when you go up too high? Did that happen to you at all?
It happened when you lose all the pressure on the foil. So it could be that you're flying too high, or if the waves are too big, in between the waves you lose the flow and all the grip on the board, and it's like if you're on an ice skate, like if you completely you lose a grip and all the force goes on the rudder. And I guess you saw that for the Australians, right?
I'm not sure anymore.
They had like a massive pitch pole at the start, and if you bear away with too much heel on this boat, like you lose completely the rudder, and you saw like big pitch pole, and that's how we capsized as well at the training for sure.
All right, I still have one question more about capsizing. If you capsize, you're in these little boxes. And the one who is in the water, is that actually possible that you stay underwater? Can you evacuate your little chamber, or how does that work?
Yeah, so when you capsize, you are kind of stuck on your side, so in your chair. The one to leeward doesn't have the head in the water, so you've got just the side, so you can breathe. But we all have like air in case you get trapped somewhere. But you should stay in your seat. There's one of the two who is in the water is going at the front to connect the rope from the rib, and yeah, then they pull you into the wind and the boat is coming back up. So they ask you not to get too much out of your cockpit, otherwise if you touch the foil, like, it can be more dangerous than anything. But no, I had only one capsize at the very beginning.
And are you trained like for these crazy situations as well?
Yeah, we did a lot of safety training with like professional diver, and we always had to have a diver on the rib when we were going for a sail. We had some scary moment actually. One of the boat almost took on fire in a capsize. So you have so much electricity, like electronics part, and this. So if you capsize for too long, and then the British had a very big scary one, and we had one start of fire. So it's a bit unusual to have someone like jumping in the boat trying to switch the fire. Or yeah, so that was a bit of some scary moment, but no one got injured. I mean, if you have a very massive beach ball, you have a shock because you stop from 40 knots to zero. It's like running into a wall, and the force you get from the water that get in your face, that's the most dangerous part, because you can get knocked at the back and hurt a little bit your neck. But we get trained for this, and in the water they make us jump in the water with like high rate. You must have done maybe like 100 meters before, like push up and stuff, and then they try to make you take you spare air, and like try to breathe, get some ropes. So we do train for it a bit.
And you wore helmets, goggles. What else safety gear did you wear?
So we've got impact vest in as well, spare air that was mandatory, and you have a knife, basic.
Basic knives. All right, I'm just gonna go back a bit. On your third Olympics, you were there with Matti on the Nacra, right?
Yep.
But that wasn't on foil yet. Was that 4 years after that they changed on the Nacras to be on foil, or how did that change happen? I didn't.
Yeah, so we had a curve. So we had the curved dagger boards and no stabilizer at the back. So we were almost foiling on flat water, but it was all on one point. So it was all about the crew trying to make sure that the bow was flat, and it was really technical, kind of the start of foiling. We were only going like 20, 23 knots or max downwind. And yeah, after the 2016 games, they started to change to foiling.
How did you get in foiling? Was that the first time on the big boats, or did you do some wing foiling before? How did that happen to you?
So I did some moth sailing. Actually, my first foiling jibe. Like, everyone is laughing about it because I fall off the boat from the moth. I was like accelerating so much that I was laughing, and in the bayway I just fell off, and my boat had like the perfect heel to do like the perfect falling jibe, and I was like in the water like waving. I was like, oh, I did a falling jibe here. And so I did a bit of moth, and then wing foil. Like, I started maybe 5 years ago, and so moth was like the proper foiling boat I did, and yeah, then the TF was, the TF was the first proper foiling catamaran I did, and then the AC40. It's a pretty cool boat when I think about it.
Steep progress. Did the wing foiling help you at all?
Well, I think a little bit on the basic stuff about like the pitch and the heel in the fairway, like all these kind of things. But what was helping the most was for sure like the moth but at the end, I think it doesn't really prepare you much to the AC40. It's like so different technique wise, like on with the all the can system, like all these things that I never done before. So there was a lot of explanation theory from the big team to help us to catch up the technique and the knowledge.
Have you ever done any pump foiling?
It's on my list. It's on my list. I haven't yet. I just bought like a very small board for it. Trying to, I'm looking at videos and sometimes I'm like I should try it. It looks fun.
That's
for
where Guile's expertise lie.
It looks fun for the days with no wind.
And you mentioned about these bows and stuff, and I've seen like some prototypes, and they're introducing foils even for younger riders and smaller boats, because as you said, usually you start with a laser and then you progress, and then maybe if you get to a high level, you get on foil. But do you think that they're gonna introduce the foil even at an earlier stage with the smaller boats?
I think, well, I've seen so many young kids now foiling. So starting on the wings, I've seen them and they improve so fast and they know already all the good tricks and it's quite impressive. So I'm sure like it's going in that direction. Like now I know they develop like this switch bow that is a one design foiling bow, a little bit like the moth, but like less complicated. And yeah, I think it's I'm sure we're gonna see pretty soon like a class, an Olympic class maybe for the foiling, and it should be because it's almost a future, or it is a future, but everyone is doing it, so usually the Olympic is trying to reflect a little bit what's on at the moment. So hopefully they're gonna change the class for foiling, but there's already like the macro, but maybe for one person. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, well, there's the kiting, right? The kite foiling, that's Olympic already, and I'm sure it has to change after your last Olympics. And I like to get into this more serious topic. After this last Olympics, you got diagnosed with cancer.
Yeah, that was a long time. Actually, no, it's not so long. It's 3 years ago. Yeah.
That must have been a huge shock. I read it online. I was like, how did that happen?
Yeah, that was after the Tokyo Olympics. I was coaching mode in the laser, and it's true that I was not feeling my best in Tokyo. And when I came back, I did some tests. They couldn't really find anything. They thought I was eating some bad fish in Japan, which fair enough. There was a high chance. And and then when we tried a few like antibiotics and stuff, and at some stage they went more serious and looking at it, and yeah, I think the doctors were quite shocked. I was as well, because I felt I was living a very healthy life, and it looks turned out that doing a lot of sport is not good for you. Shouldn't do it. No, but yeah, for sure was a big shock. And I mean, you never expect this. As I think I was 35, 36, so it was not the life I was expecting after the games.
Are you healed now? Is there such a thing as being completely healed?
It's a good question, especially the second part. I think it's at this stage. I think being healed takes a lot of time, and I'm not healed. Tomorrow I'm going back. Like every time I'm back here in Switzerland, there's always something happening. So hopefully in a few years' time, I can tell you I am healed. But it's a really crazy sickness that you think in 3 weeks you're gonna be done, but it's a complete new level of something that you cannot control. And yeah, I learned that that it's you need to take that in account in your life. And yeah, every day I'm just thinking a little bit different than I used to, like that the health is so important. It's something every time someone is asking you what you want for Christmas, I'm like, well, this is something you can't really buy, but being healthy is like kind of a massive value that you completely underestimate especially when you're an athlete, because you're in a good shape and you can't really think that you cannot be in a good shape.
Yeah, you don't think it's possible until it's possible. Yeah.
Yeah, and and after that, I think you kind of realize first that you need to be a little bit more kind to your body, which and listen to it. Which I think as an athlete, you sometimes you ask a lot to your mind, to your body, like to try to be the best shape possible 24/7. But yeah, sometimes you realize you're quite hard on it, and so yeah, I realized that I need to be a bit more kind and to myself.
And how did that change your perspective of the world in general, not only on the health side? I guess quite a few things changed in your
Yeah, that's
mind.
a
Like,
lot of things actually. Yeah, for sure. Like the perspective of everything's changed. Like what, like the importance of little details, like how to be happy every day, or to just like enjoy every day. Because I mean, you never know when. Sometimes you realize when you're at the hospital in your worst days, like you never know when it's the end. So you just like trying to make the most of it. And I think I learned in my project that I chose in the last few years or month that I want to make something that make me happy, and yeah, and just yeah, be happy. I think that's quite important in your life, and as well like in your job. Like sometimes you're like, oh, I don't want to go to work and that I don't like it, or well, I think you have the power to change and make you choose whatever make you happy. And I think that's something I really, it makes me realize how important it is to make things that suits your lifestyle and how you want to live.
You said you're not healed yet, and I'm really hoping we all are that you get better. Is that for your daily life? Is that more a physical thing, not feeling healed, or is it a mental thing, or both?
Well, I it's kind of crazy to think that when I they discovered my cancer was quite late, so which means that all the bad cells have traveled in your body. So for the last 3 years, they're trying to find what it could be. And yeah, just before the cup, they found, so a few weeks ago, they found it was like in my lungs. So tomorrow, I'm gonna be exactly in 24 hours, I'm gonna be like in the hospital and they cut a little bit. So yeah, it's just like, I hope one day I can tell you I'm healed, but yeah, I mean now I'm not even scared about it, but yeah, tomorrow I'm going back into I would say a small surgery, but yeah, they removed a bit of my lungs, and I was like just trying to make the most of my days with my two lungs. So the last few days I was like, so that's why I think there's a bit of bees coming, so I'm gonna go foiling after this call to make sure I use all my good days. And no, I mean like I finally got a bit better because I had a lot of chemotherapy, and so I finished in January this year, and now it's like 10 months later, and I finally get my cardio. I can go like for good runs and good mountain bike tour and stuff. So I'm like, oh, finally I got my health back, and now they're gonna remove a bit of my lungs. So I was like, oh shit, I need to make the most of it now. It's part of it. That's why I need to live with it, and I think you realize how much you need to make the most of your days when you can.
We had a question from Gwen, who was on the last episode, and when I said that you're going to come up and who you are, he said he wants to know, and it's a great question, I think, how do you approach hard and difficult things? And not only because of that diagnosis, but also, you as a professional sailor with these goals of going to the Olympics, did that help you at all? Like this mindset, does anyone need a special mindset to conquer these things?
Yeah, that's for sure. I learned that from during my Olympic sailing. So when you have a proper, like when you have your goal, it's trying to surround you with people that can help you achieve your goal. And it can be a goal in life, or in like recently my goal was to get better, but like if you have a goal in your life at the job or in sailing, and trying to get the right people around you, which for me was the most important, like having the right physical coach or the right technical coach if you want to learn something hard, and from there like feeling in balance with your personal life and with professional life, which I think it's another topic that is quite important if you want to master something. So yeah, I would say that be surrounded by the right people who can help you to achieve your goal.
You are a professional trainer as well. People come to you to get better in shape, or is that just in terms of like sports like sailing, or is it just general people who feel like I want to improve, who can come to you?
Actually, it's more general people, like Lambda people, like they have a little goal. I had everything. I had like, they want to have a summer body, or they want to get ready for the Mora Fribourg, like a small running race, or those kind of little goal in life. Or some people who just want to be in a good shape, and like having an hour every week out of the office and doing some sport, and like, yeah, just switching from the daily life. And I try to be a sport teacher, but I realize that it's such a different job. Like, I have people who wants to do sport and have a goal, and then I try to teach sport, and like most of the children don't want to do sport, so you need to motivate them, and that's like completely different. It's much harder, and that's not my job.
Yeah, that's my job actually. Tell us and tell the listeners and viewers, where can they find you? Where can they book like a course with you, a class?
So I work most of the time outside with my own material that I can go to places or go to people, and because I realize people don't have a lot of time, so I try to make their life easier. And I work around Fribourg, the town I live.
And you have a website people can find you?
I do, yeah. It's nataliebrugger.ch, I think. Or .com.
No,
I
that's
check.
I checked it.
CH.
I just want you to say it. We're gonna link it.
I think, yeah, okay. I haven't been on my own proper website for a long time.
So you're not living all the time in Switzerland, as I understood.
Yeah, I do live in Switzerland, and the only thing is you can't really sail all the time in Switzerland. Like right now, it started to be a bit difficult, so I'm gonna follow the summer.
Windy season's up now. Come on.
Yeah, well, I realized that having like a 5 millimeters neoprene is not my thing. So I need to follow the sun.
So what are your plans? What's coming up next after tomorrow, obviously?
After tomorrow, so my next trip is in the BVA. So my husband is a professional sailor, and right now I'm gonna follow him in the RC44. They've got like the last event of the season, and I heard it's a nice place for winging, so I might go there as my holiday. And then what's next? I think he's Australian, so summer is coming in Australia soon, so that's where we're gonna end up, I think, over Christmas.
That sounds
amazing. A good plan.
Yeah, totally.
Gael, do you have anything else on your list you want to ask? You want to know?
I think we covered pretty much everything, and it was a pretty nice conversation. I think, like you talked about, you covered the technical stuff, and then I really liked like what she came up with, what she learned through these hardships.
All right. Well, I've just a few things I want to add. If you want to see not winging, for example, you can watch that on Instagram, right? At Nat_Brugger, BRUGTER_sailing. You can find Gael, of course, at Gael Daniele. Yeah, I'm just going to tell you what the next episode is going to be. The next episode is going to be with the Swiss pump foil king legend, Rob von Roll. I'm going to visit it in Solothurn. Not if you're in Switzerland, you're up for a thick wetsuit. You can come join us.
Tell me, when is it?
It's going to be in November. I have to double check the date. I'm going to tell you. If you're ever up for pump foiling, hit me up. I have enough gear so we can go pump foiling.
Yeah, I would love to try, actually.
All right.
Thanks.
Good. Then let's discuss that later on. And I see you, Gael, soon. You, hopefully, too. Good luck for tomorrow. And for all the listeners, let's see you in the next episode.
Cool. Thanks. Bye.